I did want to make a few remarks also on the Learn Here, Live Here program, which is, I co-sponsored one of the bills, and this is an initiative, obviously, that's been around for some time, and I am so pleased to see it in this bill. I have some personal experience in that for 6 academic semesters since the fall of 2008, I taught communications, advertising, marketing courses to upper-level students at UConn. And I gave them, because that was some of my career background, we would talk about their career plans, and I would occasionally give them career advice. And without fail, I would ask for show of hands, how many of you are thinking of living in Connecticut and working in Connecticut? And I would see almost none. And then I would ask why. And they would tell me, well, some would say, I can't get a job. But most of them said, the jobs I've looked at have entry-level salaries, and I've got some interviews, and I think I'm going to get a job. But I can't afford to live here with that money. There is nowhere that I can afford to live. I'm going to have to move back in with my parents. And for heaven's sake, I didn't go to college just to go and do that. So there was a great deal of frustration. And these were intelligent kids. They were in their last year. They had done well in the courses. They were competent. They were ready to go. They had a lot of energy. And yet they had this frustration and so many barriers to staying here. But I thought if only we could do something. And this particular Learn Here, Live Here program goes a long way to addressing that need. And not only that, I think it has, one of the reasons that I think it's so strong is that it doesn't just address the difficulties of first-time wage earners in finding affordable housing in Connecticut. It also is going to help us stem this exodus of well-educated young people. It will help with urban revitalization in some cases, and we can even make it so, because in one of the earlier versions of the bill, I think back in 2008, there was a suggestion that there be an even greater benefit to those young people who chose housing in a section of a city that needed revitalization. It helps us preserve our competitive workforce as we compete with other states and even other countries. And it also helps families in Connecticut stay together who are seeing all of their children leave and go to live somewhere else. I think it's an excellent program for those reasons. Another thing it does is it provides an incentive to our college students to finish, because strange as that may seem, it's getting more expensive to go to college, and it's also, I noticed this at UConn, getting more difficult because of the sizes of classes and ratios of staff and things like that. It's getting harder for students to finish in 4 years. And sometimes they give up if they have to stay longer, or they can't afford to stay 5 years. And this gives them a real incentive to finish, because when they finish in Connecticut, maybe they have an easier time staying here. A couple of things. You know, Connecticut our population is aging fast. And if we don't do something like this, we're going to be spending more and more time and effort educating a workforce that's going to become the workforce of other states. And that's not really something we ought to be doing. We've got a wonderful base here. We have a beautiful natural landscape. We're in a wonderful geographic location. We ought to be able to cultivate this one brilliant natural resource we have, which is our young people. Some of the objections to this program when it was first brought up in the early years included the idea that, well, we might lose a little bit of their taxes on the income they would earn here. But I would submit to you that if we lose them all together, we'll be losing a lot more of that revenue on their entire income. I think that Connecticut has so much at stake in becoming a competitive place to work and to live and to raise a family and above all to stay. And this program goes a long way in helping our young people do that. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Representative Love.